Hey, welcome back, guys. This is the Wizard. This is part two of our rigging tutorial, and if you followed along with part one, you should have had something like this as far as your end product for the left hand. So now what we're going to do is the right hand. So let's go ahead and get started. Just hit 7 on the keyboard, go into edit mode, hit E to extrude, bring that down to about there, go to 3, and bring it down to about there, and just make sure you got it where you want it. Click on the entire bone, tab key to go in the pose mode, select the N key, bring up your control panel, and I'm going to call this one Control RA for right arm. And then we'll just go into, click on our mesh, deselect everything, add a new bone in the vertex group, new vertex group, we'll call that Control RA, and just hit assign. Now go back to 3, object mode, now go into edit mode, and we'll just hit E to extrude, bring that to about there, go to 7, adjust it as we need it, click on the entire thing, and we'll call this one R forearm. Hit enter, click on the mesh, go into edit mode, hover over the right arm and select it. Add a new vertex group, and we'll call that R forearm. Enter and assign it. Back into there, and you can see that that moves. But you see how part of the weapon moves? That'll be fixed here in a second, and I'll show you how we do that when we get to that part. Don't worry about your weapon moving with your mesh. It won't once we get started. Alright, go back into edit mode with the bone, extrude it out to about there. Isn't that about right? Yeah, that's about right. Okay. And since, I'll tell you that in a minute. Right now, let's just go ahead and name that to R wrist. Edit mode. You select everything. Now, what I like to do is I like to hide stuff that I don't need to see. So just go into wireframe. We'll just select all of our weapon. We'll rejoin it here in a minute. All the parts of your weapon, just hover over it and hold the L key and wireframe so you make sure you get everything. And I think that's about it. We got the entire weapon selected, so let's just go ahead and hit P, separate the mesh, in object mode, and hide it. Now we can see everything we want to see. Alright, we named that one to right wrist, so let's go ahead and go into edit mode. Wireframe like we did before, select our right wrist, and just basically go around and select all the vertices attached to the wrist. And I told you before, you can either use the C key or you can individually select it by holding the shift key down and your right mouse button. Okay, that's about that. So let's go ahead and add a new vertex group, call that R wrist, and assign it. Okay, looks good. And you can see it moves. Now, since we only need to animate the trigger finger, we're only going to do the index finger. So this one will be pretty simple. Just extrude to the index finger, go to 7, make sure you have it lined up where you want to have it. That's about right. Bring it up a little bit maybe. And that's good. Go to tab mode, and this time we'll just call this R1I for index finger. And then go into the edit mode, and same thing, we leave the entire wrist and fingers selected, and we'll call this R1I for index, and then assign it. Now let's go back in tab mode, front view, E to extrude, bring that to about there, bring it to about there, and we'll name that one by going into pose mode, and that will be R2I. And then we go into here, deselect all of our vertices, go to front view, angle it a little bit if you need to. Go to wireframe and select all of our vertices on the index finger. Go into solid mode to get the remainder of them. Okay, that's all selected, so let's go ahead and add a new one. This will be R2I index, assign, back to 3, solid mode, add a new bone, extrude it to about there, bring us into about there, that should be good. Go to pose mode, and we'll call that one R3I. And select our mesh, front view, wireframe, deselect all those, and go around and deselect any additional ones that you need to deselect. Add a new vertex group, R3I, and go ahead and sign it. Back in pose mode, edit, bring that last bone out to about there. It's about right where we want it, maybe just a little bit there to the tip. Yeah, okay. And then go into pose mode and R4I, and then same thing, go to edit mode, wireframe by hitting the Z key, and deselect all these. Go into solid mode and deselect as needed. Any additional ones, add a new vertex group, and R4, and actually it's caps, R4I, and then assign it. Okay, now let's just test it out, make sure it's all working for us. Rotate, that's good, that's working good, wrist is working good, that's working all right, and this is working, and that's working. So that completes the tutorial on how to rig the arms. The arms are completely rigged. You don't have to add any additional rig anymore. If you want to, you can add the additional fingers. It's good for practice, but as far as the trigger finger, that you barely see the hand in the animation portion, so as far as the trigger finger goes. But the other one has a lot of movement to it, so we do need to add fingers to each one of the joints. But that concludes that. Our next tutorial will be on how to rig the weapon to our arms so they work in conjunction with each other. All right, until then, see ya.